Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next speaker, Vikram Dutt, Senior Director, Building, Business Strategy and Marketing, and he'll be speaking on future of architecture, engineering, and construction.
Good morning, AU India. It's here in Bangalore. So you heard Haresh talk about the future of making and the importance of automation in leveraging that future. I'm now going to talk about what Autodesk is doing to help architects, engineers, and contractors do to leverage automation. So let's start with some context you've seen before. Currently, we have a population of 7.5 billion people on this planet, and about half of them live in cities. By the year 2050, we'll have 10 billion people on this planet, but the number of people in cities is going to be 2/3 of that. So put in another way, think about all the cities we have and double them. So for those of you in the AC industry, you're going to have a lot of work to do. Now, exactly how much work? We estimate it's going to be 13,000 new buildings every day to meet this demand. And we'll have to wrap around the earth 30 times in terms of road and rail infrastructure. Now, these are global numbers. What does it mean for India? In India, we'll have to build 13% of the overall buildings, so about 1,700 buildings per day to meet this demand. And we'll have to wrap around the earth 5 times in terms of road and railway infrastructure. Now, not only we'll have to build new, we have to improve, renovate our existing building assets. There's going to be 4 trillion assets at risk of climate change. The UN estimates that 5 billion people are going to be at risk of water shortage by the year 2050. And 90% of the world's coastal cities are going to be at the risk of flooding. Now, all of this work that needs to be done is obviously creating a challenge, but for those of us in the AC industry, it's a huge opportunity. Just think about how many new buildings and infrastructure projects your teams would need to design, build, renovate, and retrofit. However, as we design new buildings and infrastructure assets, how do we balance this with the reality of less? Like resources. We know that our built environment negatively impacts the environment. 40% of all energy is consumed by buildings. Buildings are responsible for 25% of all water consumed. And by most measures, they're responsible for 30% of all global waste. And there is still this, I know many of you have seen these numbers, construction productivity lags the rest of the economy and manufacturing. So how, as an industry, are we going to improve productivity and do it in a sustainable way? How are we also simultaneously going to achieve this when dealing with a retiring and aging workforce? And frankly, a younger generation that's not showing a lot of interest in our industry. We clearly need to do better, but we can't meet this challenge alone without adopting new tools and technologies. And this is where automation comes into play. It's estimated that people waste up to 70% of their time on non-productive tasks. Automation obviously can help your firm achieve productivity by doing these tasks for you. And today, we're going to show you what Autodesk is doing to help you automate things in both design and construction by removing or minimizing the things you do that don't add a ton of value to your business. So let's start with design. The first example I have is DYNAMO. It's something we released a few years ago for Revit. It's a visual programming tool that allows you to essentially program without knowing how to code. Now, in May of this year, we released DYNAMO for Civil 3D. It brings the full power of DYNAMO to civil engineering workflows. So a civil engineer can develop and share scripts that will automate the creation of complex geometry. They can create features like signage and light poles. They can even bring in data from other disciplines to make their data more and projects more richer and more accurate. It works across all civil engineering disciplines, from land to rail to water to site management. We've also been working on giving customers in AEC access to generative design for design exploration. Now, traditionally, generative design has been a little bit hard to implement because it requires expertise in coding. So we are working on eliminating the need to code by combining DYNAMO with a design optimization engine so you can create and evaluate multiple design options and pick the best one. On the screen you see here is the process of optimizing a tile pattern using Project Refinery Beta. It is integrated into the Revit environment, just like DYNAMO is, and it's our first step towards democratizing generative design so more of you can use it. Now, we have customers all over the world using generative design and achieving some pretty phenomenal results. One of my favorites, a customer I've visited a few times, is Daiwa House in Japan. They're a large home builder. So let's take a look at what they did. Now, in Japan, not surprisingly, land to develop is scarce and hard to come by. So they came to Autodesk to help develop a generative design tool that will help them evaluate parcels of land that are best suited for development. They're then giving this information to their sales team to use on proposals. So essentially what we created was a powerful business development tool. Now it allows their sales teams to quickly develop a proposal that will work for them as well as their customers. It can take into consideration local requirements, zoning regulations, ROI, and even preferences of customers in terms of line of sight or comfort. The system allows them to do this quickly so they can move rapidly on new business opportunities, because let's face it, for every proposal that's accepted, many are not. So by automating the upfront work to create a proposal, Daiwa House is freeing up time for their sales teams to focus on pursuing more business. That's really powerful. Okay, so moving on, let's look at a new trend that we are seeing. It's BIM plus IoT plus AI, or artificial intelligence. That is going to create, in my opinion, the next level of automation. I think it's going to be even more transformative than the examples I shared with you. Let me explain. You know, every year, Gartner publishes their top 10 technology trends, and it includes things like autonomous things and blockchain. But this year, they have two new trends, and that's digital twins and smart spaces. Now, this is really exciting for AEC, because when combined, these trends bring the power of IoT and BIM together like never before so that owners can really use them. Now, IoT is creating an explosion of data, right? Owners and operators want to leverage this data so they can better understand how occupants are using their facilities, so they can learn from it and better optimize the tenant's experience. This is why they want to make spaces smarter. A smart space can be anything, right? It could be smart retail, smart parking, smart building, or even a smart city. So let me share with you an example. Here's a video we took at Autodesk University in Las Vegas. And using computer vision, we are able to dynamically anonymize the participants at Autodesk University and track their movement. Now, by doing this, we can see how people interact with both planned as well as unplanned activities. So what we do next is essentially create a digital twin of these attendees. So once you have a digital twin, you can present the information of a BIM model of the space, and in this example, it's a bridge. So you can see in real time the physical world, real people, real bridge, and its associated digital twin. Now finally, if you add IoT sensors to the bridge, you can start to understand the physics of the space. In this case, it happens to be acceleration sensors. So that's what we call a smart space. Now with a smart space, designers and owners can see how people interact with their assets, see how they respond to different times, different temperatures, so they can compare as designed with as operated models. Now this insight allows owners to optimize their assets in the short term and for designers to learn from it for their next design project. Now, as I mentioned earlier, a smart space can also be a smart city. To better a city, we need tons of real-time data. And we've been making investments in this area with our partnership with Esri that brings BIM and GIS together. We've released, since our partnership was announced, the first phase of our integration through the ArcGIS connector integration. This is really powerful because it helps the design teams stay connected so they can see in real time how an infrastructure asset is performing and incorporate GIS into BIM workflows. So whether it's a city, a bridge, or a building, BIM plus IoT plus AI is really going to redefine how owners optimize their assets and how designers design their next building. Now that's automation and design, but what about construction? So we are working to bring new levels of automation to construction. We are doing this by getting the computer to act, learn, and improve just like humans do, autonomously. This is machine learning, and it's done by feeding the computer data and information in the form of observations and real-world interactions. Now, earlier this year, we announced the preview of Construction IQ. It's a machine-based learning application that delivers risk and quality assessment that is integrated with BIM 360. Think of Construction IQ as a smart assistant. Now, a typical construction project has thousands of issues, hundreds of RFIs, numerous subcontractors working on the same project. So Construction IQ essentially helps you make sense of this mountain of data and gives you insights, such as for site leaders, they can look at the most pressing quality issues. For health and safety professionals, they can look into trends that are going to be the most hazardous on the construction site. And owners get visibility into risk patterns across their portfolio of projects. Now, Royal BAM Group of Ireland is a customer that's already using it in practice, and they got some amazing results, and I'm excited to share them with you. They got a 20% reduction in quality and safety issues. And more importantly, they were able to reclaim 25% more time so their staff could spend more time on site working on the most pressing issues. Okay, I know some of you have seen this classic sawtooth of how information across an AEC project is trapped in silos, so one phase doesn't know what happened in the previous phase. And having a digital strategy for the AEC ecosystem is really a way to solve it. So we are focused on bringing design and construction together. So we can automate tasks for productivity, make data more useful and insightful for owners. And we are doing this through acquisitions and integrations. I'm sure you heard about this. Last year, we acquired 3 construction companies: Assemble, PlanGrid, and Building Connected. Now, these technologies all share in their ability to digitize key aspects of the construction value chain. Now, by itself, they solve really important problems on the construction site and automate things like quantity takeoff, bidding, or even estimating. But when combined together, as well as with our design tools, they really automate the entire end-to-end process and improve project delivery. Let me explain. Now, we acquired PlanGrid last year. It's a key tool in extending the value of the digital model from design to pre-construction to actually the site. Now, I want you to imagine for a minute having a 2D model, a 2D PDF sheet, and then by a click of a button, be transported to 3D and see the associated surrounding environment. That's what we are enabling with what we call PlanGrid BIM. It's the first step in bringing design and construction together, and you can look for us to develop and release even more incremental capability in the near future. Now, contrary to what many might believe, automation is also about scalability. In order to scale, you need your data everywhere, and you need it to be interoperable. That's why we built the Forge developer platform. Forge open APIs integrate with your existing software solutions, as well as allow you to customize workflows to your specific needs. We have now over 100 integrations on Forge. These integrations make your data more actionable across the entire project lifecycle, but also give you access to powerful new capability. Now, when data is actionable, you can work smarter and better. So case in point, our partnership with Unity. Now, I know many of you have used Unity in the past. It's a powerful AR/VR experience. But you know, it takes time. You have to spend tens of hours of work in setting it up, especially if you want accurate materials and textures. But with our partnership, now with a simple click of a button from within Revit, you can launch Unity and get into a complete AR/VR experience and literally save tens of hours of work. Now, before I go, I want to leave you with three things. Autodesk is building, acquiring, and integrating tools that can help you accelerate automation and improve productivity. Second, BIM plus IoT plus AI is really a game changer. It's going to transform how you design things, how you make them, and then how you use them in operations. And third, I want you to think about a project you're working on right now, and think about how you might automate it, how you might do something as site planning with generative design, or even bidding. How might you automate this just like Daiwa House and BAM Group did? As the examples I've shared with you, with automation, you can realize the opportunity of better. Better design, better construction, and better productivity. Thank you.